Alright, good morning from Billings, Montana. This is the start of day 3, our second full day. And we got in here about 10:30 last night. And this morning we're headed out towards Yellowstone. We're gonna leave here. We got about a 2-hour drive to Gardner, Montana, which is right outside the north entrance to Yellowstone. And then we're gonna start exploring Yellowstone today. And tonight we are staying at the Old Faithful Inn. But we're gonna leave here, we're on the interstate for a while, and then we follow pretty much the Yellowstone River all the way down into Yellowstone.
The long drive days on Thursday and Friday really took a toll on us, so Saturday was a later start than expected. We left the hotel after breakfast, a little after 9, and only had a 2-hour drive to Yellowstone. As we stayed in Billings, we planned to enter the park through its north entrance near Gardner, Montana. As we left Billings, we continued west on Interstate 94 towards Livingston. From here, it's a straight shot south toward Gardner. We followed the Yellowstone River south for much of our journey. The river originates in the park and flows northeast through Montana and North Dakota. The motto of our adventure was to get started. We'd always wanted to travel out west, but kept delaying the trip for numerous reasons. In a perfect world, we would have had more time. We could have bought a camper. We could have done more. But on this trip, our goal was to simply go. We weren't going to wait or make excuses. We needed to get out there.
Just got off the interstate here in Livingston, Montana. Now we're headed down to the north entrance to the park near Gardner, Montana. It's 51 miles, so we're not sure what kind of drive it'll be. I'm assuming it'll be incredibly scenic. I'm pretty sure we meander along the Yellowstone River as we head south here.
It should have only been a 2-hour drive, but we were delayed. Although we started off making great time, our progress was halted a couple miles from the park when a dump truck collided with a car and rolled over. We were delayed over an hour, probably closer to 90 minutes. We took advantage of the downtime and ate lunch and explored the area around us.
Lots of people out on the water today. It is a Saturday, so there's probably some local people too. Right along the river here. But we've hit a little traffic jam. Sign said there was an incident ahead.
How about an elevation update?
Our elevation is 5,100 feet.
We are still stuck in traffic here on the way towards the north entrance. So we got out of the car like everybody else. They got a rafter and some kayakers coming down. Apparently there was a truck rolled over and they're just cleaning it up now is what we're hearing. We should see when we get there.
State trooper probably thought she was a blessing.
Blasted the back of that car.
Although it was later than planned, we finally arrived at Yellowstone National Park around 12:30 on Saturday, less than 48 hours after we left Maryland. The fun was starting. We had made it to Yellowstone. This was the cornerstone of our trip and would be our main focus. We arrived midday on Saturday and planned to leave the park Tuesday afternoon or evening, giving us 2 full days and 2 half days to explore. Our adventure started at the iconic Roosevelt Arch. This project was started in 1903 by the Army. Prior to the creation of park rangers, the Army managed our national parks. The sign across the top states, "For the benefit and enjoyment of the people." The reason for the arch was to build a decorative entrance to the park. At the time of its construction, the north entrance was the most popular. The main road within the park is shaped like the number 8. Although there are hundreds of major and minor roads throughout, this one corridor connects them all. As we entered the park through Gardner, Montana at the north entrance, our plan for the day was to explore Mammoth Hot Springs and anything in between Mammoth and Norris. Our final destination of the day was Old Faithful, but we would have the next day to explore these geyser basins. Yellowstone National Park is huge. At over 3,400 square miles, the park is larger than the state of Delaware and Rhode Island combined. As large as it is, it's just as diverse. This is one place where you can't just wing it. I'm not saying you need to schedule your days, but you have to have a game plan for the day to ensure that you at least hit the highlights. Our first stop in the park was at the Albright Visitor Center. There are 10 visitor centers and information stations located throughout the park. The rangers and volunteers are all valuable sources of information, and the displays are very informative.
It's our first stop here after the visitor center here, coming in the north entrance, and we're going on the trail here at Mammoth Springs to Liberty Cap. Down there a little bit lower in the valley, you can see the visitor center and one of the hotels. I don't remember what it's called. But now we're on this boardwalk going to see the springs.
This area is actually north of the caldera, the giant bowl created when the supervolcano last erupted. As we were exploring the area in the afternoon, it was very crowded. Parking is limited and people are everywhere. Best advice is to visit the most popular spots early, or be prepared to wait. Mammoth Hot Springs was created over thousands of years as hot water from the spring cooled and deposited calcium carbonate. The terraces here grow rapidly, whereas the terraces within the geyser basin grow slowly. This is one of the areas you have to stay on the trail. Actually, throughout most of the geyser basin, where there is geothermal activity, it is recommended not to explore beyond the marked trails due to the unpredictable nature of the area. The depositing of calcium has created terraces on a hill of travertine. There is lots of evidence of glaciers in the area, which is hard to comprehend with the continuously flowing hot water. Pallet Springs is one of many active springs in the area. The hot water comes from the Norris Geyser Basin, which is to the south, which actually is the hottest geyser basin in the park. This area technically has no geysers, just hot springs. We explored Mammoth Hot Springs on foot, where we saw the Minerva Terrace and the Cleopatra Terrace, and then drove the Upper Terrace Loop. On our drive, we got a close-up view of Prospect Terrace and Angel Terrace. At each point of interest, there's a pull-off where you can get out and explore. After leaving the Mammoth area, we continued south on the main loop towards Norris. The landscape suddenly changed from arid and inhospitable to rocky and lush. We quickly pulled off the road and explored this rocky area. The girls enjoyed climbing on the rocks. The dramatic change in scenery was almost instantaneous. The large rocks and boulders looked as if they had been violently forced up through the ground. Next stop was at the Golden Gate Canyon of Yellowstone. Although this is technically a bridge, that's not how it got its name. Its name comes from the canyon, as it gives off a golden orange appearance when sunlight hits the walls. The canyon takes you up from Mammoth, past Rustic Falls, to the Yellowstone Plateau.
Just came up the mountain pass and we are now at Swan Lake Flat.
Prior to our trip, we downloaded the Guide Along app, and the GPS directed tour guide told us secret spots to visit, as well as the history of the area. He recommended stopping at Sheep Eater's Cliff, which was off the main road less than a mile. But with no signs or directions, we would have never stopped on our own.
These were formed at Yellowstone's last major lava eruption 500,000 years ago.
exploring the upper left of the park, we continued south towards Old Faithful. This is by far the most popular part of the park, and unlike other areas, will remain busy for most of the day. We checked into our room. We actually got to stay in the Old Faithful Inn, and quickly took our stuff inside. The lobby was massive but crowded. Most of the parking lots were full, but as we were guests of the inn, we had parking very close in the rear of the building.
We're just now checking into the Old Faithful Inn. We're actually in the back. We've just parked our car, taken our bag in. We're here for one night, and then we're staying somewhere else in Yellowstone tomorrow. I can't remember where, but again, this is the back. We're in the east wing. And
after check-in, we went outside to the boardwalk to get a seat to watch Old Faithful erupt. There were a few incidents that occurred while we waited. Mia fell off the boardwalk and got soaked in the muddy water, and my shorts ripped when I simply sat down, so a change of clothes was warranted for both of us. Old Faithful is the most famous geyser in the park, and it's called such because of its predictable eruption pattern. It erupts about every 90 minutes. We watched it erupt twice, and it was within the 10-minute window of prediction. Between eruptions, there is an almost continuous release of steam, which will stop or pause briefly just prior to eruption. Old Faithful isn't the biggest geyser in the park, as its steam spouts an average of 106 to 185 feet. But it is the biggest, most predictable geyser. The first eruption we watched lasted about 4 minutes. Each eruption does vary slightly in duration and could be as long as 5 minutes or as short as 1.
I feel some water. Ooh, look at it. Oh, no, not there. Oh, that's so cool. The fire is I just can't get the video together. Hello? That's so cool. I remember it being out there.
Comes the water. Just go there and you bump the camera in the middle of filming.
sweatshirt if you want it.
Right here next to our room at the Old Faithful Inn, and the Old Faithful geyser in the background is the visitor center. So we're gonna go in here and check it out.
After the eruption, we explored the Old Faithful Visitor Center, which has one of the 2 young scientist areas, in addition to a large exhibit on the geothermal activities and the science behind the beauty and majesty of this natural wonder.
This is meatloaf. We are here at our dinner spot. We don't really know what it's called because I'm just.
Check in for dinner at the Obsidian Dining Room tonight here, our first night in Yellowstone.
For dinner, we went to the nearby Old Faithful Snow Lodge. This newer hotel has a beautiful post and beam interior lobby and is one of the few lodges that remain open year-round. We ate dinner at the Obsidian Dining Room, where we feasted on bison ribs and burgers, but the most popular thing was probably the hot fudge sundae. The lobby of the inn is massive, and the ceiling is 76 feet above the floor. To look up is breathtaking. The inn was completed in 1904, and the craftsmanship and skill required was incredible. The height of the ceiling, 76.5 feet, does have some significance. The inn was constructed of lodgepole pines, which grow to be, on average, 75 feet tall. The architect wanted visitors to think they were in a pine forest when they entered the building. Our adventure had only begun. We were blown away already by Yellowstone, and we're excited for our upcoming adventures. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to follow along on this tremendous trip where we just get out there.